Okay, I'm pretty much ready to remove the engine now. The two retaining bolts on the right hand side have been removed and the adjusters screwed right out. The lower mounting bolt here I've just removed, and then the upper mounting bolt I'm in the process of slackening it, but to make sure that the engine is not imparting any forces on the frame, I've been adjusting the scissor jack up and down by very, very small amounts so that this bolt here is not under any resistance and it will slide straight out, which basically means that the engine then, there's no loads between the engine and the frame. And what I'm hoping is it will just wheel straight out and I can draw it to the side and job done. I have to say that the two lower mounting points, this one on the left hand side and the other one on the right, the nuts are a fair way in there and they're quite difficult to get access to. In the end, I got access to them with an open-ended spanner on the right-hand side, 17mm, and a ring spanner on this left-hand side, but it had to be kind of reversed this way round so that the shaft of the spanner cleared the spring on the shock absorber. Luckily, undoing the bolt, the nut tended to grip. So you could actually undo it by undoing the bolt rather than the nut. So it didn't really present a problem. The spanners ultimately were just needed to retain the nut in position whilst undoing the final few threads, but potentially a bit awkward to get to. Anyway, we're ready now, so let's see if we can draw the engine out. Right, well, as far as I can tell, we're good to go. I've checked everything. So here goes. Do or die. Look at that. How stable is this? Stable enough, hopefully. Make sure none of these cables are going to catch on anything. That one. There we go, peeps. Engine out. Right, so the next job, I'm going to remove the liners and pistons and see what state they are in. Hopefully no cracks. I've lowered the engine on the jack and it's pretty stable. I was a little bit worried that my support would be kind of in the wrong place for the CFG and it would have a tendency to tip, but it doesn't seem to want to. It's fairly stable and it's quite convenient for working on now because I can kind of move it around at will. Another idea I've had is I'm going to put the cylinder head back on just temporarily so that I can wheel the engine back into position, raise it on the jack and see if I can lower it just vertically without having to move it backwards and forwards, because if I can, I'm going to completely rebuild the engine out of the frame and not reinstall it the way I took it out. In other words, taking the cylinder head off first, because that is, although it's doable, it's potentially more likely to cause damage. This is for the benefit of Freddie, who asked me to just inspect this liner, and there's a couple of little flaws. If I can get the light right. Yeah, I'm struggling, but a couple of minor flaws on that face there. Everywhere else looks to be okay. There is some scoring that you can see there, but it's nothing that you can feel. In fact, you can see the honing lines running through it, so I don't think that's anything. But anyway, the liners are going to come out, so I'm going to find out. Nothing around this side, it all looks perfect. You can just see the honing. But yeah, a couple of little tiny skags. I wonder if I put the torch on it, if that make them more visible. There we go. There. Yeah, I don't know. And there is some vertical scoring that you can see, but again, the honing runs through it, so I don't know. Anyway, conjecture, let's get the liners out. I'm going to try a technique for removing the liners that I read on one of the forums, which is to degrease the inside stick some duct tape around the inside and build it up, and then just turn the engine over and use the force of the piston to pop it. Anything to avoid paying Triumph 160 quid for their drain gripper, but let's see what happens anyway.